sign this. Yes. Good evening, everybody. We will call the meeting to order this Tuesday, April 18th. It's about 6:01 maybe. On my agenda, I've got an executive session at the end of the regular meeting. That will be tabled. That will happen at our next meeting possibly. We would do a pledge of allegiance. Keith Metcalf, you want to do that?
Be honored. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'll have John, you mind leading us in prayer?
Sure. Father, we thank you for this opportunity to gather together again tonight. We ask that your presence be here with us and you give us wisdom and understanding, knowledge and honor to do your will in all things for this county. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
We'll bypass number 5. Does everybody get an agenda as they once one? There's agendas up here, and there's some language on this moratorium. If anybody wants to pick a copy up and review it and read it, you're welcome to have it. We'll skip 5 and 6 and go straight into the proclamation. We have a proclamation, if I can find it.
You want my copy?
You got a copy of the proclamation?
That is?
It is probably. It's a mental health month, and then we have a lady here that wants the fiscal court to approve the proclamation, or ask me to approve it. Let's see, where's she at? Yes, ma'am. You want to come up and give us a little talk? What's your name, ma'am?
My name is Christy McGrew, and I work with Communicare. So each year, Mental Health America promotes Mental Health Awareness Month, which is held during the month of May. And this year's theme focuses on our surroundings and how they can affect mental health. So we have reached out to all of the county judge executives throughout the Lincoln Trail region and asked them to do a proclamation declaring May as Mental Health Month. That just kind of helps get rid of that stigma a little bit, is what we're trying to do with that. And Nelson County was the first one to respond to my email, so thank you so much for leading the way on that.
You want to read this, ma'am? I'll let you read it.
Sure. Mental Health Month 2023, Look Around, Look Within proclamation. Whereas the area that someone lives in plays a significant role in their overall health and well-being, and whereas surroundings can impact if, how, and when a person's needs are met, which in turn affects mental health, and whereas having safe, stable, and healthy home conditions set the foundation for achieving and maintaining good mental health, and whereas with early and effective interventions, those individuals with mental health conditions can recover and lead full, productive lives, and whereas each business, school, government agency, healthcare provider, organization, and citizen shares the burden of mental health problems and has a responsibility to promote mental health wellness and support prevention efforts. Therefore, I, Tim Hutchins, Nelson County Judge Executive, do hereby proclaim May 2023 as Mental Health Month in Nelson County, Kentucky. As the Nelson County Judge Executive, I also call upon the citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools in Nelson County to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, the steps our citizens can take to protect their mental health, and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health conditions. Executed in Bardstown, Nelson County, Kentucky, on this 18th day of April, 2023.
Thank you very much. You got any more comments?
No.
Anybody want to talk to her about anything?
Thanks. Did you say your last name was McGrew?
McGrew?
Any kid at Junior McGrew?
No, I don't think so.
Keith knows that.
Just thought I'd ask. Thank you for the reading.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to accept the proclamation.
Second. Motion by Adam, second by Jeff. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Janelle, you want this?
Yes, please.
Approval of minutes, we're moving to the next meeting. Everybody realize that, I guess?
And before we move to the next one, can I suggest that, given the audience here, can we move the public comments up to the front?
I think we can. Can we do the, just the bills and transfers? You mind getting them out of the way?
Sure.
And then the treasurer's report. If you don't mind, we get 9 and 10 out of the way. and
That'd be
then
fine.
Yeah. Let's say 8, we're gonna come to the next meeting. Bills and transfers, anybody got questions? Rhonda's here, I think.
I'm here. I put the additional bills in your box, and I emailed them earlier, in case you got a chance to see them early. And then I also had the budget line item transfer.
You got revised on the one?
I increased that amount because revenues have been coming in on occupational funds quicker
Okay.
than anticipated, so I'm gonna go ahead and just transfer everything that we had remaining in the budget.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills as presented and transfers.
Motion by Keith, second by MT. Any more discussion? All approved?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The treasurer's report. Rhonda, you got anything else you want to discuss or talk about?
I don't have anything unless any of the magistrates have any questions about anything. We're working on the budget and we'll have that by the end of the month. We didn't put that on the agenda, but there will probably be a special meeting called either at the end of April or first day of May to present the budget to the school board. We're required to, the judge is required to present a budget to you by May 1st.
It can be on May the 1st also?
According to Chip. I've been working with him on it. So we could do it
May the 1st is on a Monday, isn't it?
Yes,
It is.
it has to be by May 1st.
Okay. And our regular meeting is on
the second.
May the 2nd.
Rhonda, you anticipate budget amendment?
Yeah, actually, I have it ready. I have it ready. I just don't want to bring it in at the last minute today.
Gotcha.
So
Thank
I'll
you.
present it on the second.
I appreciate you not bringing it at the last minute.
Yeah, and they were ready.
Let me ask you a question. Is there any way we can do the meeting on May the 1st too?
Be a special.
It would have to be a special meeting.
It's gonna be a special anyway.
We'll have to have one before that if we don't. We'll still have to call a special meeting, so.
Just something to think about.
Well, we could do it in lieu of.
If
the
we have a
regular.
special meeting for the budget, it would be just for presentation only.
But they still got to show up. He's got to drive from, his gas is pretty high. Huh?
$5 a gallon?
We can work out those details
So
later.
that's our next regular meeting is May the 2nd, correct?
Correct.
And you
It'll be later.
later, you gonna be in town on May the 1st?
Yeah, I'll be here for the first meeting.
Just something to think about.
Well, let's talk about it at the end of the meeting. We may move that if y'all think about this throughout this time. And if we want to move it to the 1st, we'll have to have a fiscal court approval to do that, and then cancel the meeting on the 2nd.
Yes.
So we'll think about
But
that.
you'll be limited to what is on the agenda discussed for
Right.
that May 1st meeting. You won't be able to put anything else on the
Right.
agenda.
Nothing? We can't do the whole meeting on the agenda?
No, you can. I'm saying you can't add, once you start
Once
the
you put
meeting,
the
you can't
agenda.
add.
Once you make it up.
Yes.
Why can't we do it all on the second?
It has to be.
It has to be
by
done
the
before the first?
Right.
By the first.
By the
yeah.
first, okay, by the first, got it.
And we're only required to have one meeting a month, so if we could, yeah, but we can talk about that later.
Okay, okay.
All right. Anybody got any more questions for Rhonda? Is anybody else here on the extension district for anything?
I have spoken with them.
But nobody's here in the crowd for that?
No.
Let's hold on to that then.
Okay, yeah, we can do that later.
And I didn't want to hold anybody up. I'm gonna move up the number 30, if anybody's got the agenda. There's somewhere up here. We will have, anybody's got public comment tonight? I think
You got a list right there.
I've got the list, and
So we have a timekeeper designated.
I'm gonna let you do that.
Wonderful.
You asked, right? 3 minutes.
Well, I'll go ahead and announce the rules if you don't mind.
You're gonna announce the rules, I'll let him answer the rules, please.
We're going to have public comment now, maybe for any matter you wish to talk about. Individuals are limited to 3 minutes. Special interest groups shall have one spokesperson address the court. You can be limited to 5 minutes. You're not permitted to poll magistrates individually. Just ask how they will vote on a particular matter.
Let's see if we want to come up to the... Just stand up, you can just stand up where you're at, I guess. Just say who's first on here.
So once the 3 minutes is up, I'm going to raise my hand,
Yeah,
and then that'll, is that clear?
right. Don Thrasher's on here first. If you want to, you can come up, just kind of come to the right there a little bit, if you don't mind.
For Nelson County, America First, that's 5 minutes.
Is that what this is? I can't read your chicken scratch. Is that what it says?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
So, I think you guys are all aware by now of, after Friday's debacle, of what took place here was extremely unfortunate. The destruction of public comments in the utter refusal to put public comments on a special meeting that the previous special meeting you included public comments on is deleterious to the overall county government environment here in Nelson County. What you did on Friday was abhorrent to the Constitution. You're also attempting, instead of removing the tax incentive from the IRBs to control the distillery industry, you're going against your campaign promise of trying to deregulate planning and zoning. You're doing the opposite, and you want to increase regulations of planning and zoning. When all we have to do is simply try 1 year or 2 years of reducing or removing IRB tax incentives that none of us get. You could do that instead of this draconian expansion of regulations to planning and zoning. This makes no sense to me from a conservative standpoint. You guys were elected as conservatives. These people, a lot of people went into those polls and they trusted that you guys were going to do what you say you're going to do. And when people trust you, when they entrust that vote, you know, that's important. And you know, when you say something, do it. And, you know, don't say that you're for deregulating planning and zoning, then turn around and say you want to increase regulations. It's not right. There's alternatives. There's common sense alternatives that you need to look at. And I think it's you're doing a disservice to the economic reputation of this county, and you're doing a disservice to the principles of conservatism. And I implore you to please reconsider your path.
Thank you for your comments. We have Mike Shapiro of Heaven Hill with Heaven Hill Distilleries. Mr. Shapiro, is he here? Yes, sir. You can go, Heaven Hill, you can go up to 5 minutes. Yes, sir.
My name is Max Shapiro. I'm Executive Chairman of Heaven Hill Brands. Judge, thank you very much for allowing us to speak tonight.
Yes, sir.
On a very important subject. As most of you know, for approximately 100 years, my family has been part of the economic and social fabric of Bardstown and Nelson County, beginning with our clothing stores and now with Heaven Hill Brands. This is the community we have worked and lived in for generations, and where we have worked as trusted partners with the community in both good times and bad. As we have grown together, we have decided to keep our roots in Nelson County and invest in this community because this is our home. Let me say that again. This is our home. It goes without saying, Bardstown, which we all proudly call the bourbon capital of the world, is of course built on the bourbon industry. Bourbon put Bardstown on the map, engaging enthusiasts across the country and from around the world. Just a few short years ago, who would have ever imagined the robustness of our dynamic industry, which it is today? Heaven Hill alone supports close to 700 families in the area through our employment, making us the largest spirits employer and one of the largest employers in any industry in Nelson County. Overall, the distilled spirits industry employs 1 out of every 10 citizens in Nelson County, and I think that's actually a conservative estimate, resulting in, get this, more than $190 million in annual payrolls. That's annual payrolls every year. Heaven Hill, along with the entire bourbon industry, also has created long-term partnerships with farmers, trucking companies, the tourism industry, retail establishment, industrial developers, as well as a broad array of local, family-owned businesses who rely heavily on bourbon for their business, health, and livelihood. And get this, the industry brings in more than 650,000 visitors on an annual basis to enjoy what we are offering. And they, in turn, spend their dollars in local stores, restaurants, and hotels. As a thriving, family-owned business, Heaven Hill plans for the long term. We hope to be able to add to the employment that we already have developed over many years of being part of the industry. And from an industry perspective, there are about $2.8 billion, I want to repeat that, $2.8 billion infused into the community through tourism, taxes, local employee households, and a range of industry support community initiatives. As a result, Bardstown and Nelson County is one of the most thriving and successful small towns in Kentucky and has been awarded accolades as being one of the best places to live. What a great tribute to what we've accomplished. From Heaven Hill alone, over the past 10 years, we have invested more than $300 million into the community through operations, tourism, and industrial expansion, leading to more jobs and increased economic community for the county. Unfortunately, and this is a very unfortunate situation, the recent moratorium proposal threatens long-standing relationships and economic growth our family has built over the last century. We are disappointed and, quite frankly, shocked by the recent efforts to abruptly stop the many bourbon projects that are being planned. It leads me to wonder if indeed Bardstown wants to continue to be called the bourbon capital of the world. We urge the court to follow the facts, to follow the details, and consider the short and, most importantly, long-term business implications this action can have on the bourbon industry, and importantly, the broader economic development objectives for the larger community, and reject the proposed motion for the moratorium. Thank you for allowing us to submit this.
Thank you, sir. Donald Blinko, Donald, you here? Yes. He's going to use his construction.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm here in regards to the moratorium as well. My name is Donald Blinko with Busick Construction. My family's lived here for many generations, and I'm currently raising 3 children with my wife in town. You know, Busick Construction has been in business since 1937, and we've built a lot of relationships with the distilleries around here. The construction of the distilleries and warehouses have created local jobs for construction workers, suppliers. On a typical week, Busick Construction has approximately 600 workers on job sites doing distillery-related construction projects. Approximately half of them are right here in Nelson County. Our employees earn an average wage of about $82,000 a year. We also pay vendors, suppliers, and contractors based here in Kentucky around $138 million. So I'm concerned that we're letting the tax deal affect a bigger issue, because if these warehouses are not in Nelson County, I know people are saying there's not jobs for the warehouses, but if the warehouses move, I know these distilleries well, how they work. They're gonna build bottling next to the warehouses and such, so we're gonna lose jobs more than just these warehouses. And not only the distillery industry, as Max correctly pointed out, the bourbon tourism. I mean, how many industries create jobs and also tourism? Very few, and this town has grown greatly based on that. I know my children have kind of said, like with the new restaurants and entertainment in here, this got here because of tourism, that they think they want to grow up or raise a family in Bardstown. I remember when I was growing up, the kids could not wait to get out of this town. So I just fear that we're going to be short-sighted because of one issue and complicate the problem more by kind of not becoming the bourbon capital of the world anymore. And I just hope that does not happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Donald. Wally Dan? Just got him down as Wally Dan, but he's speaking on behalf of the distillery, so you get 5 minutes. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to speak. And I'm probably the newest, relatively speaking, the newest distillery here in town. My family has been a part of this community for over 200 years. Proud to be back here in this community. My dad, most of you maybe attended church with him when he was a priest. He passed away in 2010. But we're happy to be back here, and we're happy to be a part of what, I brought this company back here to really, bring Southern Nelson County a distillery. That's where my family was from. That's where they were born and raised. We've invested over $80 million in that community down there. We've done some different things from a distillery perspective to bring people here to Nelson County. Over 60,000 visitors last year alone came to our distillery. 60,000 that didn't exist in 2019 in our part of the county. And so when you look at that, and you look at $7.7 million in payroll that we have down there, or you look to the $1 million that we've given to the Kentucky Railway Museum to improve track down in that part of the county. We have invested a lot. We've given millions of dollars into infrastructure in that part of the county. None of it was subsidized by this county or by the state of Kentucky. None of it. I didn't take IRBs. I didn't take IRBs for a simple reason. I just didn't want government involved in what I was doing down there. All right? I will pay property taxes. I am more than happy to pay property taxes down there, of which you all would be a beneficiary. But what I will not stand for is to be vilified, as Max talked about, is to be vilified as greedy. I haven't made a damn dime in 4 years down there. Not a damn dime. But yet you call us greedy. Call me greedy. You want to get divorced from the bourbon industry. When you come out with language like that, that is very problematic. Very problematic for all of the people that are sitting here in this room. Very problematic for the tourists that want to come here and be a part of what we've created, what we've all created. And to be here 3 months after you get elected to have discussions like this, it is really just disappointing. Disappointing and mean-spirited. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. We'll go to Charles Dan.
Thanks for letting me speak. I'm Charles Dan. I'm a Nelson County resident for 56 years, and I just think I believe we need to rethink what we're trying to do here. Our family's invested a lot of money in Southern Nelson County, and we jumped through all the hoops, went through the CUP ordinances, went through all the planning and zoning, restrictions, and now we can't get a building permit for 90 days. I just don't think it's fair to us and our family. We've invested a lot of money, and I just think we need to rethink what we're doing here. I just think it's unfair to the community, and us as taxpayers, we should be treated fairly on the southern end of the county and throughout the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. I can't read the next one. It's Mr. Coleslaw. Did I say it right?
I don't have any comment. No comment.
Okay, thank you, sir. Jimmy Willett?
Jim, are you speaking on behalf of yourself or?
Both.
Okay. You just want
Get 8 minutes, right?
Get 8 minutes.
He's a lawyer, don't give him any.
Nobody wants to hear lawyers, right? In all seriousness, because we are dealing with a very serious subject, my name is Jim Willett. I'm speaking personally for myself as a citizen of the community, and also on behalf of quite a number of business clients. And they come from all walks of business in this community, from distilleries to vendors who supply goods for construction projects and everything in between. I have been a lifelong member of this community, and most of my life has been lived within 1 mile or less of one distillery, and sometimes 2 distilleries. I am also a business attorney in this community for longer than I care to admit. As a citizen, I and everyone else in this community have enjoyed many benefits: public schools, superior infrastructure, great recreation facilities, and certainly an elevated standard of living. All of these have been greatly enhanced by the presence of our local distilleries and their contributions to this community. Those contributions are not only in taxes, but also employment, increased compensation throughout the community, all satellite businesses, many of which you'll hear tonight, ranging from construction, hotels, restaurants, transportation, tourism, hospitality, and on and on. As a citizen, I am somewhat embarrassed by the way the community has been portrayed in connection with this matter. Business matters should be handled through face-to-face meetings, discussions, negotiations, understanding, and compromise where appropriate. It should not be conducted through the media or public spectacle, ultimatums, retaliation, or lack of understanding. Derogatory and unfounded statements to the public and through media have done nothing but portray this community in an unfavorable light. And that's putting it mildly, I think. And that portrayal extends not only to this community, but also statewide and nationwide. And those are the people who drive the tourism and the bourbon industry. So anything negative certainly reflects poorly, not only on the industry, but this community as a whole. In my capacity as a business attorney, I've seen the benefits associated with thriving distilled spirits industry. Many, if not all, business clients have thrived as a result of their presence. Again, the whole spectrum of businesses within the community benefit in one way or another. Without any doubt, all would be damaged by negative impact on the distilled spirits industry. As for the ordinance itself, I know there have been some recent changes that I've not been able to fully digest, but I do want to make a few observations. The ordinance as drafted contains language that is completely false. There are no detrimental effects on public health, safety, or welfare. Certainly none as great as most manufacturing facilities. We have a relatively clean agricultural-based industry. In fact, distilling is really an agricultural manufacturing process, aging and the like. Second, there's been no appreciable loss to agricultural land. Less than 1% of land in Nelson County is devoted to warehouse use. Additionally, warehouse projects have greatly increased the value of all of our properties, and
farmland and agricultural property in particular. Not only for the warehouses that are constructed on there, but also for the farming activities that exist throughout the county. In fact, one of the more telling statistics I've seen is that corn production in this county has increased by 528% in the last 10, 20 years. So, and all of that, not all of that, but the vast majority of that is distillery industry related. I much prefer a group of attractive warehouses, for example, the Heaven Hill Barrel Preserve and Cox's Creek, the Luxro campus, the BBC complex, and the Willett Distillery campus. All I prefer as opposed to a sprawling industrial plant in those areas. This present litigation or present legislation that's given rise to this was not a product of people in this community. It's a product of the other 100 counties or industries that are not part of this community. I see his hand, but I respectfully request.
But then we're going to have to let everybody else go over.
Well, I'm representing about 6 people in here. So.
I understand. You got the group time.
Okay. May I be permitted to continue?
Yeah, go ahead, a few minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that. As I say, the legislation that gave rise to this ordinance, House Bill 5, was a product of people that are not a part of this community, businesses that are not a part of this community. It came about in large part because of the actions of the other 100+ counties in the state that have no benefit, no appreciable benefit from the distilled spirits industry. They have long envied Nelson County for what they've enjoyed as a result of the distilled spirits industry. I can guarantee you that they covet what is here now in terms of being able to locate a distillery or related improvements in their area. It makes no sense for Nelson County to facilitate those efforts by damaging that distillery. And I will conclude by saying that the county should not look at the barrel tax phase out, and it is a long-term prospect. I mean, it doesn't even have any effect for 3 years, and then it's gradually reduced over the next 17 years. During that period of time, the money that doesn't go to taxes is reinvested in this community. It enhances the growth of the industry through continuing capital investment, growth of property tax base, continued growth of tourism, continued growth of hospitality, restaurants, hotels, and the like. The industry has long been the rising tide in this area that has lifted the entire community with it. Please do not damage that. Please do not encourage it to invest elsewhere. Please do engage in meaningful, rational, and in professional discussions to address all concerns, both from a community perspective and from an industry perspective. And also, do not damage those corporate citizens that have already purchased land in the area for the purpose of investing again in this community, and to change this now. And the moratorium is one thing, and that's bad enough, but the direction that this court is purportedly given to the Planning and Zoning Commission has the prospect of being even more damaging. And for those reasons, I encourage you to reconsider, table this, take some time, especially given the long period of time leading to the phase out of the barrel tax, and engage with the industry in meaningful discussions and find a workaround for the problems that both the industry has and the community has. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Willett. Evan Cole Sweden. Is Mr. Cole being here?
Jimmy said pretty much what I wanted.
You can speak there, yes, sir.
So, I just wanted to add, if I may, with a just a short comment, that you listed as one of the concerns about losing agricultural land to the distilleries, and I think that's really wrong because, and Jimmy mentioned, I think that's 1% or less, because most of the land, agricultural land lost around in Nelson County is going to subdivision developments, not distilleries, and anybody can check on that. And I just wanted to add that, clarify that to what he said. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jim Lamoe.
I'm Jim Lamoe. I'm an engineer for Wally. I work for Wally, Log Steel Distillery. I'm actually a retired county engineer. Worked for all these guys up here for 30-something years or whatever. I've got a lot of experience in different things, project management, things like that. And probably didn't need to say a whole lot because Jimmy Willett, Wally, Max, who I've never met, first time I've heard talk, Don Thrasher I've not met, but agreed with some of his things. Don Blinko agreed with those things those guys said. And basically what you guys are doing with moratorium is stopping business for 3 months for distilleries and jobs and things like that. If you want, you know, the barrel tax law is the law. There's not much you can do about it. If you want another tax, implement another tax as a fiscal court. You can do that all you want. You don't want to, but you can. The guts of what you're trying to do, I don't fully understand. What is the goal of the ordinance? The ordinance written by planning and zoning is going to be tough, going to be impossible to get a permit to build anything. Is that the goal? You know, I don't know what you're trying to accomplish, Timmy. And Jeff, you all have heard me talk about these issues many a time. I wasn't a proponent of the property tax, the industrial revenue bond process back in the day. I wasn't a proponent of that at all. This court passed it, and that's fine. But now you guys are going to implement a vague ordinance that's going to have a lot of rules and regulations that I don't think anybody knows what's coming down. I've been involved with the EPA coming down with vague ordinances, and it's 2 books thick, and it makes it impossible to do business, and I don't know where you're going with it. So it'd be nice to table it like Jim Willett said, figure out what you want, versus a moratorium stopping work for 3 months. There'll be people laid off. There'll be you know, you won't be able to put barrels in warehouses. You won't be able to. If that happens, you'll have to stop distilling sometimes, some places. I mean, I don't know what you realize the impact of a 3-month moratorium on that type of thing. It's a big deal, and it'd be nice if you guys thought hard about it. But anyway, that's bad. I'm not good at talking, but that's all I need to say. Without any cuss words. That's pretty good.
All right, Jim, is Mr. Nelson here? Jim Nelson?
Here's your name, I don't know.
No comment. Mary Ann Brown, is that right? Mary Ann Brown? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Mary Ann Brown. I moved to Nelson County in 1985. I'm not a lifelong resident by any stretch of the imagination. But I do remember when I moved here, Bardstown was running out of water. Now it's 2023 and it's all the distillery's fault. No, it's lack of leadership from the past, and it can't be blamed on one industry. Yes, it takes water to make whiskey. What else is it going to take? But you cannot blame one industry. You cannot say everything is their fault. It's not. If you don't like the planning and zoning, fine. But it was approved in 2015. The distillers didn't do it. Y'all did. Maybe not the people sitting at these tables right now. And now you're asking Jan with planning and zoning to rewrite the rules again, which she is very good at doing. But no offense to Jan, she is not elected. She cannot be held responsible to the citizens of Nelson County for what she puts into force that you all vote on. And you all can step back and say, oh, but it was planning and zoning, it wasn't us. No, that's wrong. And you are doing it to no other industries. You're not putting subdivisions. You're taking prime industrial land. You are not doing it to any factory that wants to move in, which would be taking prime agricultural land. I'm sorry, I said industrial, I meant agricultural. Apologize for that. You are picking out and discriminating against one industry. And whether it is perception becoming reality, it appears that y'all are mad and you want to get even. That's not the way it should be. Please reconsider.
Kenny Q,
I have nothing, Judge.
David Mandel,
Judge Hutchins, Fiscal Court Magistrates, thank you for letting me address the court tonight. You know, I speak tonight as a resident, as a business leader, and as chairman of the Bourbon Festival. I also speak as a brought-in, which I understand you never get over no matter how long you're here. I've learned that. But you know, there's something really special about the bourbon industry. And we all talk about it. You hear it all the time. What do people say? They say, we work together. It's unlike any other industry. No, we work together. And I look around the room here and I see most of the people over the last 10 years that I've been here, I've worked with. You know, and we work together to resolve problems, to help each other. And that working together extends beyond the industry. It extends to the community, and to you all, and to everybody that has a leadership role in this community. And that's how this industry has built something so incredible. Now, I've only had a chance to be part of it for about the last 10 years. And I came here in 2013 to start the Bardstown Bourbon Company. And I don't speak on behalf of the Bardstown Bourbon Company tonight. We've got great leaders here from that standpoint. But when we came here, we could have gone anywhere. And that's completely true. We had an incredible vision to build something amazing. And what brought us here was the court, was Kim Houston, was the former mayor, Bill Shekels, the current mayor. And you know why? Because we worked together. And we saw that. And it was with that spirit that we built probably what I would say is one of the most incredible places on the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky, and it sits right here in Nelson County. And as we grew, we worked together, and we expanded, and we built a restaurant, and we built, you know, the visitors experience, and we built bottling, we built all these wonderful things. And that was a combined effort because we worked together. And it was with that same philosophy that when I was asked in 2019 to lead the Bourbon Festival, I agreed to do it. Why? Because it's something that is a remarkable economic catalyst for this community. It was something, frankly, that when I took over, it was in trouble. We were going to lose it. We were going to lose it because it was going to fail. It had not evolved. We hear a lot of talk here that, oh, somebody else was going to take it. Nobody was going to take it. We were going to lose it because we did not evolve. But you know what we did? We restructured, we rebuilt with the support of the community, our leaders, and with the industry and their distilleries. We now have built something that is attracting a tremendous amount of investment in this community. Last year we had 75% of the people coming to the Bourbon Festival from out of state spending money, and it's got a great growth path. But what did we do? We worked together. So you've heard me say that a lot tonight. And what I would ask you as, again, as a resident, as a business leader, and as the chairman, that however we resolve this situation, members of the court, we do it by working together, and we find a solution that continues to allow tremendous investment by this industry, which is the lifeblood of this community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for everybody's comments. I think that's the last one on the list. business on the agenda. I've got several copies up there if anybody wants to read this. I'll take in consideration everything that was said. Mainly that when you come up to zoning ordinances and anytime that you have to go through that process of changing and updating ordinances, you got to go through the process, and it takes about 90 days or less. I would disagree with a lot of the comments made tonight, but that's for the people to decide. I think some of it was accurate, some of it was good, but I think some of it was inaccurate. That's just my take on it. I think the facts, I'll actually even state some facts since we're not in no hurry tonight.
I've got a fact.
Yes, sir.
In the last 18 months or less, there's been over 1,400 acres of property in Nelson County taken out of agriculture production going to Bourbon Warehouse. The largest that is a 700 acre tract in Boston by Jim Beam. And I'm missing a couple, but I have 1,400 acres in the last 18 months. I don't think the housing has used anywhere near, is anybody here from planning and zoning on housing permits? I mean, if that was half-acre tract, that's 2,800 homes. If it's 5-acre tracts, it's less, but that's a significant chunk of property.
Okay. Thank you for that. There is some language in this ordinance that basically, first of all, it's just a moratorium. It's just a temporary moratorium. It's not actually an ordinance. I guess it's an ordinance, but it's not. It does not become law. And some comments are made about shutting down construction. There's nothing in here that says any construction will be shut down. Matter of fact, I made it very clear that my word, since I've been here, we've been going our industrial revenue bond, which is Lux Road, and I'm committed to what I agreed to them. And the previous administration has agreed to permits and industrial revenue bonds and so on, and commitments to the previous court had for other businesses before that. It will not affect any of them. This language is very clear on that. It will not affect anybody that has already industrial zone districts. So there's been language from day one that I want to make sure that nobody was hurt, families, construction, and so on. This only affects that could be future zonings in the future. My take on it is that the public, and I know there's a lot of distillery representatives here, and this discussion will be, there'll be a lot of discussion in the, when you have public comment in these community forums, when they start reviewing and talking about this. Talking and communicating with each other, I think, is a great thing. I've been here about 100 days, and it hadn't happened since I've been here. Not one time. Just everybody be clear on that. Not one single time, but any distillery that's called and talked to me about anything other than trying to get an IRB, which one of them was trying and the other one did. So we'll make it real clear. The lack of communication is not lacking from this side. And I can tell you that from several other judges, mayors, city council people, magistrates, and so on. I want to make that comment real clear. The second thing is, I've been a businessman all my life. I've had a lot of issues with planning and zoning. Planning and zoning is good in most cases when it's done correctly, and I've had my battles with it. And it's a tough job. But without planning and zoning and the laws you can go to some other counties and build anything you want next to you, next to you, next to you, that you may not like. You can go on, and I'm not criticizing anybody's business, you could put junkyards, you could put handy food marts, you could put restaurants, you could put car lots. Does anybody want them to scattered all over the county anywhere? You have zoning laws, you have public hearings for that reason, and then at least you do have a say in it, and your elected officials represent the citizens of this county. And when they imposed these new regulations, I guess 10 years ago, I wasn't up here. The citizens have zero say. Period. I'm not criticizing the distilleries. Hell, I like bourbon myself, but I think and they've been a good, very good for this community. I think Mr. Shapiro can witness that. But there is a lot of concern about the black mold or black soot or whatever you want to call it. I hear it every single day. During my campaign last year, I had one hell of a campaign in the primary and the general election, and it was highly talked about. Still today, it's highly talked about. I've had so many public comments, private text, emails, phone calls that said, at least we got somebody who's going to listen to the citizens. And that's what we have public hearings for. And then when we get to that stage, everybody can talk, citizens can talk, whatever. Might not change one thing, maybe everybody's happy with it. The one thing, I think in reference to Mr. Willett, I will say that there was some language in here, and this can be adjusted between the first reading and second reading also. I mean, you can always go back and we tweaked it a little bit more. And my biggest thing is basically anything that's going on today, we're not stopping. Mr. Willett did say that something about public health and safety. We took the word health out of it as an example. You know, I don't know what this court thinks. My personal opinion is we've got a good, strong court that wants the county to grow. But, you know, there's a whole lot more businesses in this county than somebody else commented on one of these things that they didn't want factories. You're not imposing anything on factories. Well, I hate to tell you, but a regular factory you cannot just up and locate anywhere. They have to be zoned properly today. And the warehouses don't. And they passed this thing a few years ago for other reasons, and they can comment on why y'all did it. I've got 2 years, the reason why they did it. I think I know why they did it. Previous court, previous judge. There's a lot of things I didn't agree with. That's what I ran for, to make some positive changes in the community. I'm here to challenge everybody and communicate and talk. I don't have no problem talking, but I'm going to make it real clear. 110 days, 15 days, nobody's ever come to me talking about a damn thing. Real clear. So the lack of communication is not coming from this side. Just let you know that. I'm proposing an ordinance imposing a temporary moratorium on zoning compliance permits and conditional use permits for distilleries, distilled spirits, distilled ancillary, accessory, and temporary transitional uses, agriculture, residential, and commercial zoning districts, pending adoption of revised regulations. All the magistrates have this, and anybody got any discussion they want to talk about?
Yeah,
go ahead, Jim.
We have passed one ordinance, and my understanding is you want to replace that with another one. Is that correct?
All right, let's go to that. I'm glad you said that. Due to the fact public comment was left off the agenda at the April 14th meeting, I'm proposing, left off inadvertently, I'm proposing the first reading on the temporary moratorium, which I just told you about. And I'm not going to, I think Mr. McCabe, if he wants to say anything, he's welcome to. I'm not going to throw him under the bus. Just to let everybody know, there's some other things I'm going to talk about too since I'm on the road here. The administrative code we did change since January the 1st. Public comment wasn't allowed. I don't know where some of these people talk about public comment. Public comment has not been allowed in this fiscal courtroom for many years. I campaigned on that. And I want to thank the magistrates for putting that. We changed our administrative code to allow public comment, or none of you people could be speaking in here today. be quite frank about it.
We let people speak, Judge. We didn't have, may not have it on the agenda, but we let people speak.
It was always the last 2 years that they changed that.
No, not the last 2 or 3 years, you have not, 2 or 3 years, you have not let anybody speak. And you know what incidents, started it. I mean, it's a fact. We'll go here now, I'm just letting you know, we changed it, y'all approved it, we voted for it, and I'm proud of it. I want people's comments. I want to hear some things from people I know I don't want to hear. I get phone calls every day, and I see the number, and I don't want to listen to it, but I do take it. So I think it's important. So,
Well, can I say one thing?
go ahead, Keith.
We've got 75, 80, 100 people here. Not one's against it. All these people that you said that called and talked about the black mold, where they at? Everybody that's here, I haven't heard one person out of this crowd say,
That's fact.
okay?
Say that.
But all these people that you said that contacted you, and you hear them every day, why ain't they here speaking?
You have no, you can't, and y'all can't comment here. Nobody can comment.
You see what I'm saying? I'm just trying to...
That's one reason they're referred to as a silent majority as well. But most people don't have the gumption to get up and speak before a group, don't take time out of their days. They got wives and families and husbands and kids and softball and everything else.
This meeting tonight.
That was the point of having the night meeting.
Absolutely.
No speaking on the business. Yeah,
Yes.
no speaking to the comment of the public. The reason, Keith, you can say why or didn't, whatever, but I think
Well, do you see what I'm saying? Do you see kind of where the side that I'm coming from? If it's such a problem for Nelson County, somebody should have been here complaining about it. Not one out of these 100 people
You know
that's
why?
here.
Because you're gonna have public hearings over the next several weeks to address all that. When you got people calling, I've got people calling all the time. I didn't ask them to come up here. Me personally, I think you gotta, when it affects people's business and they.
I mean, it's been in the media. Jim Brooks has done it.
Yeah. All you gotta do is
Are we
look
gonna
on-
have a reading on it tonight? Is that what you were trying to say?
I am gonna have a reading, but I wanna make sure that any more comments, I read that first and,
Did you make clear the 3 or 4 things that have been changed?
First,
I'm gonna go back to Jeff. He said he wanted to rescind.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to have 2 first readings out there. I'm going to make a motion that we rescind the previous first reading of it and debate the new wording on this.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Jeff, second by
And we can do that, too?
Yes.
Keith. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Yeah, so that one's gone, and I told you the reason why. And did I finish it up? I don't know if I did or not. Chip, can you make sure that I'm saying it correctly? Address that first reading at the April 14th meeting? Clarify that, the reason why we're doing this?
The reason that was presented to me is because we did not, as you mentioned, public comment was not included on that agenda, and it should have been. I failed to advise the judge executive to put that on the agenda. So he is remedying that by, the court has just rescinded its first call approval of that ordinance, and is going to consider the new version of it tonight after we've had public comment.
And the reason I'm not throwing Chip under the bus is we've changed our administrative code 2 or 3 times in this 9 to 10 days to allow people to comment. And there was some, of course, Chip's had some health issues also, and then, so that was just missed accidentally, I should say. I should have caught it also, I'm not like to say. So, did I say that motion passed?
Yes.
Yeah, we've got that. Jeanette, you've got that?
Yes, sir.
So that one's a mute subject at this point. We got discussion, like I say, we did change a little bit of language, and we could change a lot more between now and the second reading. And then that's when you have public hearings and public comment, and you can get anybody you want there to talk about, for, against, or why, or whatever. And that's the way the process works. It always has worked that way when it comes to planning and zoning. So anybody else want any more discussion on this?
Yeah, I mean, this is the 3rd version of this moratorium that I've gotten in a week.
Maybe 4th.
4th one.
Maybe 5th.
I got notice of this, 45 minutes ago, that we were going to do it. I got a copy of it 5 minutes ago. I'm going to suggest that we take the advice of some of these people that commented tonight, let's take a little time. Let's talk to each other. Let's come together and come with an ordinance that if we continue to want to go down this track, then we can do it. I don't see a hurry. 2 weeks from now, we could bring it back up on the agenda if we choose to. Let's get the wording right. It's changed quite a bit. Still not comfortable with some of it in there. I think some of my other fellow magistrates are not comfortable either with some of the words in there. Let's talk about it. Take a breath. Everybody relax. This is a big industry in our community. It's going to affect us for a long, long period of time, the decisions that we make here. So let's just take a breath, everybody. And I encourage the industry to come to us and talk to it. I don't think Judge Hutchins is wrong that we've not heard from the industry during this entire debate over House Bill 5. And that probably leaves, a little bit of, let's just talk. Right?
I don't think, and what you're dodging is the vindictive is not on the court. The vast majority, if not all of us, are big Bourbon fans. We've all grown up here. And I think what needs to happen is the mutual respect, and that needs to go both ways. So I'm on the side with Jeff. I think we need to make a motion to table this to the next meeting, and we need to hear our constituents. I think we as a court need to make sure whatever we bring can't be changed 5 minutes before we walk in, or shouldn't be changed. Not that we can't change it, but shouldn't be changed.
That's part of the reason. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
That's part of the reason that I didn't like it the last time. I had 3 different versions come in front of me. I just didn't feel like I was doing full justice to my constituents. And all you all that's from Nelson County is my boss. I want to listen to you. I want to hear you. Bourbon's in my blood. My dad raised us on bourbon. He worked at a distillery. I always want to be a good partner with y'all. Y'all have always been a good partner to me. Y'all put fried chicken on my plate when I was little. And I by no means want to run you out of town. No means. So you need a motion on that, Jeff?
Not to do it.
We don't have a motion on it anyway.
Anybody not motion?
I don't have a motion. That we table this first reading of the new ordinance until the next meeting. Spend some time talking.
I can second that motion.
I got a motion on the floor by Lear, second by MT. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, we're going to go to the County Extension Office, matter of record only. Adam, you have what do you have on that?
Yeah, so the County Extension Office, the District Board has to present its budget to fiscal court every year, and it's just a matter of having it enter in the record that it has been introduced and I would make a motion that we accept the district.
We do have to, is that a matter of record?
We have to make a motion.
No, probably not.
Is this a matter of record?
I do have a question to send back to them. We have a pretty good carryover. Will they have a project in mind?
No, the reason there's a carryover there is because they're 2 staff members short and have been for like 2.5 years. They just hired a new 4-H agent that will come on board and start January 1st. So see those salaries come out of that money. So they have been paying those salaries for the last 1.5 years.
I mean, it's looks like the income and the expenses are right in line with on a yearly basis. So we're taking some time on this.
Right, but it's mainly because there was 2 open positions, and UK had a freeze on hiring for like 18 months, and now they released that, and they did get 1 person hired, and there's going to be a couple another hired.
John had the question as well.
Yeah, that's why.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I knew they had a 4-H person.
Yeah, she started June 1st.
I don't think Jan's here, is she?
I looked for her. I didn't see her walk up.
We didn't have any, zoning's come up that I'm aware of to share with you anyway. So I need order in the room. I need Brad Metcalf.
Yes.
We want to talk about the Washington County Animal Control Agreement. Got a copy here somewhere.
Before you should have in your packets, the MOA with Washington County Fiscal Court for sending, they need to send us some dogs until they can find another resolution to either go back to Marion County or build their own facility. We, in discussion with our animal control officer and his staff, we changed what I talked about last week, which was we're now going to do $10 per day per dog, which is consistent with what we charge everybody. So that way, in-county residents and Washington County is being treated the same. And that's the only change that we made.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what we changed. What?
Originally, we had $5. Last year, for the last 6 months of 2022, you had an agreement with Washington County that was at $5 per day. So we just updated. They thought that may not be enough, so we moved it to 10. Washington County's agreed to that. Everybody's on board, so we just need a motion on this. Please.
I'll make the motion to accept the memorandum of agreement with Washington County.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Adam. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. I'm going to sign this thing, Jeanette. Give that to you. We've got a bond council modification on Bardstown Bourbon. Are they still here? We need to do that in open court. I just need to sign that. It needs to be discussed.
Chip, it's just a clerical error on the naming of the bonding company.
That's correct. So this is an old agreement that was done before you all came aboard. And they made a mistake in who they named as bond counsel for that agreement. They've corrected that since. They've asked that correction be approved by this court.
But we didn't make a motion to allow the judge to sign the agreement.
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mayor for me to sign the updated agreement with Bardstown Bourbon for the bonding.
I'll second.
Second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Brad, you got anything else on these grants or anything?
No, sir, not from last week.
Okay. Mr. Hall, are you here?
Yes, sir. Well, we've had a long meeting, so I'll make mine fairly short for today. So, currently for today, Nelson County Correctional Center, we have 121 inmates, 105 males, 16 females, 45 are state inmates, 76 county are generating $1,590.30 per day state revenue. 43 are awaiting circuit court, 21 are awaiting district court. Our repeat offender recidivism rate currently is 85.59%. Average length of stay, 94 days. Average length of stay for a felony, 133 days. Average length of stay for a misdemeanor, 57 days. Jail as a whole is overpopulated by 18.63%. Males are overpopulated 11.7%. And we are at 100% over capacity on females. Work program, as of today, has worked 1,288 hours. And based on $20 an hour, that's $25,760. And bulky item pickup is now complete, Brad, right? We're almost at the very end of it.
We're done with that, but we continue to use the inmates or whatever duties we got, picking trees at the ballpark, whatever we got, so we continue to get them out. So,
and they're mowing fairgrounds, county properties, and so.
$25,000, you saying it's cost us that much?
No, it saved us that much. Yeah. Our total cost is less than $100, so.
Make sure you're clear on that.
Yeah, very clear.
I'd like to let you know, Justin, I'm impressed.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, thank you all.
Thank you. Anybody have questions for Justin? Neil,
I'm here.
I know you sent me something and
I sent you an email about getting lights and a siren for my vehicle and for the transport vehicle. We've had 3 road fatalities since January. And each time that we go out, we cannot get through the traffic. We either have to have the deputies come get us to lead us through, or the last one on March 30th, I had to put the transport vehicle behind one of the wreckers to get them to the accident. I couldn't even get to the accident, but one of the deputies got to the accident. It's not safe for us to get through the traffic. And until we get a vehicle for the coroner's office to put the lights in the siren into, then we need to put it in mine, because I take my own vehicle and the transport vehicle for our own safety. So I had to submit it in writing, which you guys should have gotten it. I sent it to Tim so he could send it to you, because I don't have everybody's email. And then I had to request it according to the KRS. So you didn't forward it?
Well, I'm not sorry, I can blame you, but it didn't come through.
Okay.
I'm not.
It's fine. I can.
Submit that.
I had to submit it in writing, and then I had to ask for it in court. So now it's been asked for, it has been submitted.
You asked for it in court, and that's all you have to do?
That's all I have to do. You guys have to say yes or no.
To make it legal at that point?
To make it legal.
All right, so can we bring it back May the 1st and clarify it all for you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Question, what color lights are you?
They're blue and red.
So is that the same color as your train?
No, sir.
What's your, just blue?
All blue. Blue and white.
It's good that you don't know that.
Yeah, I don't want to know. I don't want to know that.
We had time for, that's not coming up for a vote today.
Well, no, I don't think she was, we got something back in that, probably,
Do what?
So what's their time and what's the cost? Was that in that message?
No, it was just the request to have it. So if you guys can say yes or no, then I'll go get you the cost and I'll tell you how much it is.
Is that a cost of fiscal court?
It'll be the cost towards our office.
Neil, without a request to you, you don't have to do a motion. If you get us the cost attached to that.
I can do that.
Back, and then I'll send that in to the next packet, and we'll.
That's fine.
I don't see a problem with it. Anybody else does?
Well, I'd want to know from our insurance company, I don't know that we've ever had someone with a private vehicle with lights in it. What does, how does that work with our insurance?
Yeah, who's going to be
County.
responsible?
Right.
I can check with mine too. That's fine.
fine.
I'll just check. Okay, and then I have some stats for you guys. So from January to March, we had 40 coroner calls. That's between dispatch and the hospital. Does not count the senior living areas, because we don't usually go to those unless it's looking wrongful.
You've had 40 since?
We've had 40 in the last 3 months, but in the first week of April, I had 9. Okay, so it all depends on how things are going, I guess.
Can I ask you a question while we're on that topic? Are you required to go to the hospital? Say if I was in the hospital and I died, are you required, or the coroner required?
At the ER.
Huh?
In the ER.
In the ER?
Right.
If I die in a room, it's not requested that the coroner comes?
Right, if you've been less than 24 to 48 hours, I don't have to go. Unless the family believes that there's something wrong with it, then they can call me in.
Okay. I knew there was something there, but I didn't know exactly how it was. Thank you for
Correct. It's
clarifying.
usually in the ER. We've had 7 runs to the medical examiner's office. The previous fee for that was $300 per run. Our fee right now is $200 per run. So between saving on that and just having storage fees lowered because of the funeral homes being willing to work with me until we get everything for the office all set up, then I've saved close to $1,000 in our office alone. I know I don't have a very big budget, but $1,000 for me, I think that's really good.
We'll take it.
Can you send it to our budget, please?
No, I'm going to put it on my lights and siren. Let me see. Our sign has been ordered, and it should be up and on the building by next week. And the office is already established as in January, And our biggest concern is just building the rapport with the family, and the most time that we spend with them is between an hour to 2 hours while we're waiting for the funeral homes or family to get there. I've had to make a few calls to their homes, you know, to give them notifications. So the families have been grateful so far with how things are going. So, any questions?
Nothing, I'm just hearing good things about you, so I appreciate what you're doing.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Flood, you here tonight?
Yes, sir.
He is here?
Be better if I was still there.
Soon, Joe, soon.
Yeah, this week I'm at Frankfurt, emergency management training, so hit me in the eye, I'm done. Got 3 more days of it. You have passed out to you the March totals for EMS calls. 675 calls were responded to. Out of those, 183 were non-transport, 13 lift assist, for a total year-to-date March 31st, 6,155, puts us up about a little over 500 from last year. I'll point out to the court that our revenues are a little better this year than they have been the past couple, 3 years. And I added a little highlighted area there. Last year, the cost difference between what our revenue was and what our expenses was as of March 31st was $204.04. That's what the tax subsidy per run adds up to that has to be chipped in. This year, we're at $129.15. So that's a significant improvement over the years past.
What's the reason for that, Bill?
One big reason was the Medicare assessment fee that comes in for the year a little over $300,000 that we did not have in years past, and thanks to our legislation and making that legal for us to send $3 up Fed and get, $1 up to the federal Medicaid and getting $3 back to offset our emergency calls under Medicaid has helped that significantly.
That's the lowest differential I've seen for some reason.
Yeah,
I think the administration might have done
Oh my God. I think the bottom line is, on my way out, I want to leave things in good shape.
Throw that on the way out thing. What did you say earlier? We got good communication.
Good communication, that's what it is. We continue to meet with Judge and Brad and Sean on our retention and recruitment for EMS and dispatch. We're still working on what we can do on that. Hopefully, we'll bring something to the court soon. That'd be my report.
Anything on this part, on the dispatch side, since you're here? Judge, you want one?
I think they had a budget meeting, and there's still a little bit of disagreements on meeting the budget for next year. They're supposed to meet again, and we were supposed to present a budget on April 1st. We didn't do that, so they're still working on it and seeing where we meet for the budget for dispatch. Under the contract that the city and the county has, ultimately, you guys are responsible for anything the shortfall falls on dispatch. So.
We're working on that. I met with them, I think John was at 1 or 2 meetings, and I've been at 2 or 3 or 4, and so we're getting some numbers together, so it's pretty painful, but it's something we'll have to look at. Brad, get a recreation report.
Basically, parks in full swing now. You got soccer and baseball at the same time out there, so it's starting to get really, really crowded. Today, we actually started putting up, Timmy, that scoreboard we've been discussing. One that was donated. It'll actually go on what we call the softball field. As soon as you come in, it's on the right for the girls' field. Actually, we're kind of used to the girls' field now, but we've got one more scoreboard to put up. It's a little more detailed than you think. We're very cautious of that after the incident in E-Town, to make sure we design that properly, and so it's a little more involved in the thing. But outside of that, it's regular business out there. Unless you guys got any comments.
I've got one comment. I definitely think by skewing the parking out there has helped tremendously. Before in my truck, when I would pull in there, it took me 10 minutes to get pulled in there straight anyway. But then when I backed out, I couldn't tell if a child or anything was fine. But by it being on a skew, I could see more. Good. I want to thank y'all for doing that. I think it was a very well improvement to it.
Seemed like you were part of that decision, weren't you, Keith?
I was.
Okay.
I did help.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jimmy.
John, you got, John, you got.
Okay, for bulky item numbers. Here, John, if you want to take one, pass the one. That's just for bulky honors for the
You better
year.
not have an even number tire on there. That's all.
Even number?
Should've thrown one more.
No way. You
Throw one more.
Okay, we got cubic yards, we got 4,556 cubic yards, we got 871 tons, we got 7,201 tires, miscounted one, and then disposal costs of 38,841, and that was pretty comparable to last year.
So, John, because I don't have that for the public, how is that compared to last year, previous years beyond? Are we trending up, down, what are we doing?
Basically, it's very similar to last year.
Okay. So part of that, before John moves on, you know, we've been picking up tree limbs with that. Everybody knew that. So we are now done with bulky items. We're done with it. We're going through the first phase. First phase is go up Louisville Road, go counterclockwise through our county, and we're headed towards 245. So we're working through just getting limbs. When we get done with that, we got to get back to regular work. So we're getting there. Grass is growing. We understand. We get there. We got one crew doing that. We've sent the other crew to do other stuff.
How much are they getting? Pretty good or little?
We'll get ranges from 5 to 10 loads a day. I mean, it's quite a bit.
I went out to one of the sites today, and they almost had a whole dump truck completely full. So I had to go get that to one of our inmates, but yeah, it was pretty impressive.
So what we found, you know, when the storm first happened, a lot of the public, you know, they want to get rid of their stuff, so they took it themselves out to the old quarry. We still leave the old quarry open at this point. Once we go through this next phase, we will shut the quarry down. I would recommend that to you guys. We're starting getting some feedback about some other stuff that is making its way out there. That's to be expected. It's going to happen. But I would recommend.
Will the city of Bardstown still bring in, and is the state still bringing?
We permit them to do it.
Yeah.
But once I close it, it's on a case-by-case basis.
So maybe you might want to contact them and say, hey, if you got a pile somewhere, get it on in there.
Right.
Yeah.
But I just want, before John moves on, sorry, John.
That's good. Our high lift that we ordered and approved over a year ago, it's in, so they got it in Louisville now, so we should be getting that tomorrow.
So the other one fixed?
How much did it cost us?
356,000, was that?
That's a year ago, for us.
356.
Yeah, he said if we ordered today, it'd be closer to 4.
Do they still come from France?
Yes.
Yes.
It's a 963, isn't it?
963. We use that.
High tracks, I guess. High tracks.
No, it's regular track.
We use that machine daily. Basically, what we use that machine for is dig out where we put the garbage for the morning. We'll walk it over, load dirt all day long for cover, and then come back and cover the garbage. So we use that every day, nonstop. And one more thing last, just our roadside cleanup. If anybody else, any other nonprofit group wants to clean up, we had a good turnout so far. If anybody else wants to do a nonprofit.
Still open for people to call.
Still open. Call out to the landfill, call Joe, Frank, or myself, and we'll get you set up.
Let's get Nelson County cleaned up.
I need a nonprofit group to do Ashes Creek Road, 1066,
So here's what I will say.
Somebody get out there and sign up for that.
For the nonprofit groups media, if they don't get to it, guess who will? The inmates.
That's right.
And they won't be available to them. So seriously, if give me the list, we have a running list that happens, and that crew gets the list and they work through it from top to bottom, then we turn back around and do the same ones again.
I'd like to see
We already got those roads on the list.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'd like to see some of the local youth groups and things to get
I
them.
would
to-
too.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
That's great.
You know, they gotta sign up and get after
The
it.
inmate program's been going very good. I think I counted like 26 bags.
Yeah.
Picked up today, and it's
Yeah.
looking a lot better.
It's actually pretty sad. I'd like to see people not throw garbage out.
Yeah.
Agreed.
We're averaging one 55-gallon bag every 150 to 200 feet of road we're talking.
Never did.
I mean, it's very disappointing,
Yeah.
very disappointing.
John, you got anything else?
That's it.
That's all?
Well, the wind, it's just new stuff fast. Let's go to Brad. John, you good, John?
Yes, sir.
Let's go back to Brad on, let's go ahead with your report, Head Road.
Okay, so D-Head Road, we had a meeting with the Kentucky Department of Transportation on Monday, I believe is when I went down there. It was basically to submit our plans to get their blessing and approval on it. Of course, like any good regulators, they mark it up some, and we got to go back and make some minor changes. Keith, you and I have talked about some of those issues. Nothing pushing on that project as far as it's going to change it that much. I'm being very cautious with the cost. I understand where this court comes from, and I'm trying to manage that. So the hope and goal would be to still bid it this summer, and we'll see how that falls out.
How can we do it on May, 1st of May? I mean, what?
Can we do what on 1st of May?
Put it out for bid?
No.
Why?
State won't have me a permit by then.
When will the state have you?
They have not told me.
Is there any way we can push that up?
Do you know somebody at the state?
We have to make changes to the plan. Keith, the reality of it is, it's going to be what we talked about with them. Realize we're doing the project for them in the scheme of things. They're giving us money, we're managing it. We talked about a June 1st lettings, what we talked about. We have an issue of some right-of-way we got to deal with, and then...
well, that's 5 months, pretty decent weather.
Right. The goal is to be done by November 15th, which is paving.
Okay.
That's the goal. Now, getting a contractor.
As long as you got to go with mine.
Right, and if you don't want to push too hard on these contractors, because your price is going to go above your $1 million, and then we're going to be back here talking about it.
What happens if it goes over $1 million?
Borrow from 10
Bring more money in?
No. They were very clear, if it goes above $1 million, we have to fund it out of our funds. So, that includes engineering, that includes utility relocation, right away. I'm trying, Keith, I am. So.
I appreciate your effort.
Actually, to be all honest, the way the prices are, just stay behind and didn't remember what's coming.
I know. Walkie outing we've already covered, I'm not going to get into that. We started doing one crew, like I said, with the trees. The other crew is actually doing regular work again. John, we came out today and fixed Caney Fork Bridge, the approaches. You know, I let that sit with rock, the settle went down, and we paved it back. We had a few comments, you know, it's like anything, it's a little painful when we're doing it, but now we got it done, hopefully that'll be nice. So if you gentlemen got anything that you want pressing, you gotta let me know and I'll get you in the lineup. We need to start discussing paving lists. You know, once your budget is approved, what we try to do is get out front of Mago and replace culverts. John, I've already talked to you about your list. Yours was quick. But I need to get with the rest of you. So, that's it.
Brad, when's reinforcement have to be done?
May 1st, we'll do that, whichever, first or second, whichever.
The appointment has to be done by May 1st.
It has, that's the first time that we can do it. We can do it between May 1st and May 31st.
For the committee.
Correct.
Yeah.
Then they have 2 months.
That may affect paving lists is what I'm asking.
Well, you better hurry up.
Actually, today was y'all's first blacktop, wasn't it, Brad? You did those approaches, was that today, yesterday?
That was yesterday, we did the wedge, today we did the overlay. Timmy says you all, you know, that's internal. That's Nelson County Road Department paving.
Yeah.
Mago is, they're actually out paving now as well, so we don't have any roads right now that have issued purchase orders for them to pave.
Let's go on to the number 20 there. Anything else? We got you and John together. I know you got to Wickland. There is a Zoom meeting tomorrow with this report that came in. I guess everybody got copies of that, and it just got some details in it, but we're going to be talking to the, I don't know what's the name of the group that did it. You got
Joseph Alpha. Basically, it's a meeting with all the people that did the report with us to explain the report. You know, it's 185 pages long. So you're more than welcome to attend. I will forward everybody the Zoom meeting if you'd like to sit down with us.
Summary of the 185 pages?
Yes.
Yeah. Not 185 pages.
But long story short, let me have the meeting with them tomorrow, John and I and Brad, and we'll let you know the report stuff. How's that? I'll come back to you. And then as a group, you guys got to decide that we want to do it. And the family, you know, the church, family.
We got
Greg, I mean,
a facility assessment report on this courthouse. We have to decide pretty quick. I guess we can do that at the next meeting. I'd like to get that done too. But we're gonna get our plans drawn on this thing so we can get so we can start applying for grants. Without
Judge, can you go on and advertise for someone to come in?
So we can, if y'all, you know, I don't have, everybody got the assessment report and they're estimating one. Well, Brad, what was the total?
2.6 total.
Well, no.
Take the electric and everything out, it's about 1.2, 1.3.
So they did a whole assessment of the entire facility, and it came in at $2.86 million of recommendations they had. And they actually, if you guys went through the report, they highlighted a lot of stuff in yellow, and what we had told them, make the building dry, and change out the heating and cooling, as we experienced tonight, right? So that came in with engineering and architectural fees and everything at call it $1.2 million. That's what Tim's talking about.
Yeah. And
what he's really,
you didn't have, that part of it, you didn't have the insulation, the deck and all that?
No.
That's very important, I think.
What Tim's talking about is potentially going up in the roof. There's no insulation up there.
Spraying the deck.
And spraying it to maybe...
Spraying the rafters and the...
An option of that, looking at that. But what Tim's really going to ask you all at the next meeting, he ain't asking for 1.2 million. He's asking for the architectural and engineering fees, $103,342, plus your CAD stuff, $22,000. So call it $125,000. Now, this is professional services. You don't have to bid out professional services. By law, you do not, as an engineering firm or architectural firm, you can continue with this group, or we can bid it out, have another group come in and look at it. You're just almost, I hate to have to say it, you're starting from scratch.
Well, the thing about it is you gotta have stamp plans, you gotta know how these engineers do it. You gotta have stamp plans, and we gotta have a bulk set of plans. But we've already missed out on 2 opportunities. One big one to get a grant to do this. And we feel pretty confident that there's gonna be a lot of grant money coming through this, so I don't want you to make a decision tonight, because I want y'all to table it like y'all did the other thing and give you time to think about it in the next 3 weeks.
Discussion.
Yeah.
I like that, Judge.
And please call me, you know, or come see me. It's easier, just come see me.
Part of
And I'll
that-
walk you through the report.
Part of that discussion is where we're going to get the money to pay for it.
Yes, sir.
Well, but that's part of helping to advance that, because I'm kind of handicapped. If you don't give me some set of plans to have a shovel-ready project, if I have a grant that's ready to go, they're not even going to put me on the list unless I've got a set plan. So.
Can't run them cold check either.
Right, it wasn't in the budget. 125,000, is that what you said?
No, that.
So that's $125,000 to last year's budget that we've went over.
No.
No.
He's going to ask you for that, to do the engineering architectural. But we haven't paid him that fee.
Yeah, we paid the $7,000.
We paid
We paid the
$7,000
$7,000 for the preliminary assessment, Ron. We got a bill for that.
7,000.
Was that been on here, y'all remember? I don't think we paid it yet.
I don't remember, but keep that report that they did to initially give us a cost estimate and what they call, you know.
Right. What they seen wrong.
Right. I don't say this often, that's above my pay grade.
You're never supposed to say that.
Hey, you have it, I'm just being honest.
I seen that on Facebook. You're never supposed to say that.
Oh, yeah, must be true. Read everything on Facebook. Some of the stuff in that, some of that stuff in that report, it's talking about replacing electric and all that. I don't, we need to really think about it in our open discussion in the next 2 weeks. Our communication is, what do we want them to do?
Right, the electric was not part of the 1.2 million.
Yeah, I know, but it was in the bigger picture. So there is some windows, the windows were in that 1.2.
Finishing tuck point was in.
So anyway.
But you know that tuck point, I never knew this in my entire life. You can tuck point one side this year, and then next year the other side needs it. And then it's a revolving door. Oh my, it never stops.
And the next thing we didn't have in this report, that part of it is fixing all these walls out here. That's not in that.
Yeah,
part either.
interior
You're talking
fix.
about probably 1.5 or 6 when you get into that, maybe 7. All right, let's go to the, you have anything else, John, Brad, on that part that we've been looking at? I've been pushing Brad, I'm gonna push him harder here in the next couple of weeks. We've got to get the
Which Brad?
Brad one,
Brad one.
because this internet and water plan, some of the, we don't have all the, some of the roads that we need. I'm not blaming him because we did Poke Item and everything else, but in order for us again to apply for these potential grants coming up, and there's millions and millions and millions coming down the pipeline, I'm telling you, if you look at all these studies, and we're gonna be left out if we don't apply for them, so that's pretty big on my agenda. Jeff, what you got on the next one on the technology?
I have no update unless Brad has some. Looks like not.
Nothing? Jeanette,
No, sir, nothing to report.
you not getting any money tonight?
No, sir.
Remo, what do you got on the sheriff?
Judge, we turn over 488 tax bills that have not been paid to the clerk's office. That is running about average in the last 4 years. I don't know if you want to touch up on the other subject or not. I'll ask it, I'll put it this way. I'll be asking the court to add another position at the sheriff's office under the opioid money that came from the settlement from the Attorney General's office to combat the drug epidemic.
Have you checked into that, Raymond? Is that legal to do it out
Yes,
there?
you can utilize that money for.
Well, I think it would be a good spot to use that.
For salary.
We'll have, I'm gonna have y'all at the next meeting, we'll have another discussion about that. I've got a special person come in and explain a lot of the details, so she's supposed to be here at the next meeting.
Also, I'll be bringing the agreement from the Hardin County Task Force, since there's newly elected officials, to continue that partnership with them.
We did that meeting, 26th, is that right?
Yeah, I've got that down here in my report somewhere, I think. Is that all you got, Raymond?
That's it.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. McKay, you got anything to report?
I do not.
Magistrate reports, John?
Yeah, well, Jeff and Brad spoke a little bit to the technology, but I'm going to be going to a cybersecurity class on Thursday that Keiko's putting on. We're not that we've had no movement on it, we're just trying to get all of our ducks in a row before we make any major decisions on how to move forward with the technology stuff for the county. But there's been a big push on the state level to go to .gov websites for security reasons, emails, official emails, and that kind of thing. So there'll be some of that forthcoming with that.
That's a good.
Yeah, so you should pick up a lot of stuff there. Jeff?
I have none.
MT?
And Plan A for the park in Boston fell through, so they're back to BCD all the way to Z.
That's
You posted on that.
all right, what about you?
Every year, I have, for the last 25 or 30, I've come to fiscal court at least once a year and discussed the dead animal livestock disposal program that is facilitated through the landfill. When a farmer in Nelson County has a cow, a horse, a hog, sheep, goats, it also includes ostriches, llamas, emus, alpacas, whatever large animal they need picked up, they call out the landfill, and John's department there dispatches the truck out. When this agreement was first put together, I had worked with fiscal court along with Nelson County Farm Bureau, Nelson County Beef Cattle Association, the Soil Conservation Office, Nelson County Extension, and the Kentucky Home Pork Producers. And those 5 organizations had agreed each year to contribute to offset some of the cost of that. So today I have $17,500 that have been collected through those organizations to help offset that pickup. And in 2022, there were 1,019 animals in those classes I described that were picked up by this program. And that's 1,019 animals that were properly disposed of. They didn't get drug off into a ditch or a sinkhole or off in the woods. where
In the
they.
creek.
Or the creek, or the side of the road. A number of years ago, there was a whole load of dead hogs that were dumped out on what we used to call River Road there at the end of Woodlawn Road, and it cost quite a bit to clean up, but it was also a stinking mess. But it keeps down predator problems, it helps control health issues within our livestock, and it's a general cleaning of the keeping farms clean, keeping them neat, and keeping out. So I've got those two checks.
What's the buzzards going to do?
Well, the buzzards are going to have to go to the dumpster behind the local restaurant. I don't care what they do.
They go to the landfill.
They do go to the landfill, that's true.
Because they cover it all up.
Do y'all have bald eagles at the landfill?
No, sir.
Do you know that, do you know that in some, I've been in other areas, and it's a tourist attraction to go to the landfill to see the bald eagles?
I'll show you a video.
Okay, so you can do that.
On the same subject,
The next tourist will be
before I move on, John, let me see, I want to see that too.
Here, I got another. Here's another.
The state put in how much on this?
7,500.
The state, 7,500, there was 15,000, it was 15,000 we applied for on the state side. Regarding this same.
So there's other monies that come forward, yes.
Yeah, that comes through the state grant. This is too, like what you call private, I don't say private, but.
Well, this money is solicited through those organizations, and we collect that money.
Last year, this current budget, we got $15,000 from the state.
Yeah.
We have got 7,500 in the past.
15,000 on top of this.
On top of that, yes,
I want to
yes,
make sure
sir.
everybody's clear on that.
17, $32,000.
Yeah. And that's a big plus because that program cost the county about, you can round it off, about 95,000, 100,000. So you figure everything. So we gotta have to try to go after.
Well, those of us that have had to use it appreciate it.
Yes.
We had some issues earlier this year with some.
Anybody have, Keith, what you got?
I've got one thing. Fellow court members, I liked how we let the discussion before we voted on anything. Can we continue this throughout? It's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like robbing Peter to pay Paul, to not let the people that want to come say something, and we voted on it already. I mean, to me, it seems like it's tying their hands to come in. I thought tonight went very smooth. I think everybody appreciated the 3 minutes. I hope y'all see where I'm at on that. I think it just, if we want to be an open court, and I'm all for an open court, I don't care if somebody's mad at me, I can take a butt to him for 3 minutes. And I understand that. And if they like me, don't like me, I understand that. I want to hear their concerns. Because as I said earlier, I work for them. And it's just something to consider. It's kind of hard to have them here for 2 hours or 2.5 hours, and we done voted on. What good did it do them to stay to say their piece? Just something to consider.
Well, I mean, to be clear though, for everybody else here, we don't set the agenda, right? Like,
The court doesn't, yeah.
he sets the agenda. So,
Can I set it tonight for that reason?
Well, what do you think about the future, Judge?
moving it,
No problem.
moving it up, moving the. public
Move it forward,
comments up,
yeah.
Yeah, but me and Chip talked about this quite a bit, but like I say, I made that real clear to everybody here before I got here, just be point blank. There was no public comment for
Yeah.
2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And that was one thing I campaigned on, and I promised, I put it on there. Yeah.
Well, can we put that in the ordinance? Do we need a motion on that?
It's already in place.
This is how you label it.
The judge says the ordinance, and he put it anywhere he wants to.
The agenda, he set the agenda, and he can put it where it's at.
I might put it
Sorry, I just
in
didn't want people to think we were intentionally not voting to do that. We don't get to vote to do that for the agenda.
Well, you do have the right, though, as magistrate, you can make a motion to advance that item on the agenda.
During that meeting.
Yes.
We'd have to do it at each meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or.
I think we should do it at every meeting, I think. I mean, why would I want to come here and sit 2 hours and listen to me complain to the court? I didn't like the way they treated my garbage thing, and we done voted to not give anybody a trash can, so she came for no reason at all. I mean, I know it's a little far-fetched.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. I'm just saying that it would be handled on a case-by-case basis. If he puts it to the top, then it's a moot point, right?
But to answer Keith's question,
That don't have no problem.
you all could propose an ordinance to change that, to put the comment at the beginning of the meeting.
It
If
could
enough
be,
of you pass it, you can do that.
It could be an administrative code, I guess, really.
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, I was.
So if a motion is needed, I'd like to make that motion.
You got to have the ordinance first.
To advance.
Yeah, we gotta
Well,
have.
you- yeah, he'd have to draft
You'd
it.
have to draft it.
Why don't we give the judge the opportunity to do it on his own, and then if we have to, we can do something, but I think he agrees with it.
Might not put it on there at all. We'll see what happens. We'll see. Yeah, well, that's why we talked about it, and I think Jeff had suggested that today, and then we talked about this, because it's kind of new, you know, we've changed that administrative code like 3 times, didn't we? But you wasn't here, Kelly was here a couple of those months, so I think we got it all cleared up pretty good.
Okay. Well, thank you.
So I'm gonna bring it back to you at the next meeting about this courthouse, see if we can get this thing moving forward. The Plan B I've talked about a lot, but I may have that information for you too on this governmental complex, but definitely on Plan C, because the new budget's coming up, and there's some movements on some other things and some grants. Matter of fact, Brett Guthrie called me today. I gotta call him back on maybe some possible money. So in the next 3 weeks, is it 2 weeks or 3 weeks before we meet? May 1st, it's about 2 weeks. We'll be bringing a lot of information back on that. Brad Metcalf, did you get any information on the appraisals yet?
Yes, sir. We have one appraiser that I'm meeting with tomorrow, just to show them the different buildings that we're talking about, and one who has scheduling conflict this week, and he's going to come next week. And right now, we're just trying to get an idea of what the appraisals would even cost. Right, we're not doing anything right now. We're just trying to get an idea of what the appraisals themselves would cost.
Right.
So,
They
we
got
have
a
two.
percentage, I think, what they go by, but. House Bill 5 bourbon tax update. I mean, that's passed, the governor signed it. I think we talked about that already. Anybody got any questions on that? Excuse me. The cleanup Nelson County, I talked to Operation Cleanup Nelson County, and we're working toward that heavily in all the different inmate programs, and bulk item pickup, and then the nuisance ordinance side. We've had several new ones, and several more coming. I'm working with Richard. I talked to him today. I don't know if I brought this up a little bit about the gentleman at the scrapyard. And I've got to get some kind of thing in writing with him that he's available, going out to help pick up anybody who's got some bigger items, junk cars and so on, and they can get some money. He would cost share into that with them, so it'd help them actually, because some people don't have the, ability to do that.
You talking about Mike's Salvage Yard? Is that what you're talking about?
The new one, what is it? Brandon. What was the name of you? Bobby Ellis, what it used to be.
Mike, yeah. Now it's Mike's Recycling or something.
And I've talked to him, we just got to get.
MACK, yeah.
Sit down and get the details on it cleared up. G here is Nelson County Drug Awareness Public Hearing is April 26, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Civic Center. It says more details coming. I've got several different groups that will have come in and talk, some individuals. I want to make sure that it's not going to become a debate. It's going to be information that people can share and talk about their concerns, suggestions, and I'll probably have an agenda established for that, a little bit more information with some groups that I've been talking to. So as many people that we can get there, that's going to help this situation. It's not negative, it's going to help the problem. That's what I'm encouraging. A piece of that is I've been working with another group, some leaders in the community, that we're going to have another meeting tied to that, about coming up with more workforce, like we had this gentleman here a few weeks ago, and working with the jail and the colleges and the workforce centers, and we're working on another pretty good, it'd be a pretty big deal, I think, in the county if we can come together and use this opioid money and some tie that to some of what Raymond's doing too. So there's two big pieces of that we've been working on. Ethics Board, we still got to get the cities working on some language. They haven't got back with us yet.
No, Chip has had the version I sent to him. We also sent that to Audrey Hayden, the city attorney. Mayor was on board with it. He was fine. The judges looked at it. I think we talked in generalities about it the last meeting, so they'll put some lawyerly magic on it and get it back to us, and then if you guys agree to it, the city council will agree to it, and then we'll have it ready for June.
Just to summarize it, it basically only changes the way there's 5 members on this board, and right now it's currently set up that the county has 1 appointee, the city has 1 appointee, there are 2 joint city-county appointees and 1 from the city of Fairfield. And the new ordinance would just do 2 county appointees, 2 city appointees, and 1 from the city of Fairfield. And it will establish new terms, staggered terms, just to have it reset and get the commission going again.
The other thing is that when the original ordinance was written, we didn't even have email. So it also allows for electronic communication, which is actually a huge part of the costs of this every year, because we have to do the financial disclosures, and they are mailing every single one of those out and then paying for them to come back. So that will eliminate a lot of cost of being able to email these back, just updating that.
And they get lost.
It just hadn't, it hadn't been updated in the Bloomfield, New Haven have their own. They didn't want to be a part of it, and that's fine with us. Then we get to the animal control. I don't have anybody here from that department, do we? We were going to have a meeting actually to start that process about making some changes there, bringing it back to the court. Tried to enhance some things there and some of the language. Just let the court know at least, I don't know, once every other day, at least I get complaints about dogs and dogs and dogs and dogs. And it's aggravating, because part of it is citizens need to take responsibility for their own pets, and then part of it is where our ordinance is, there's not enough teeth in some of it to create that. So I'll be bringing that back to you too. I don't know who's on that committee, on the magistrates.
That would be...
I'm getting ready to put some more.
I think I'm on that. Judge, why do you think they called you? I mean, I heard Dean complain about it as well. I just wondering why.
I have gotten a few calls.
Have you?
Yes.
I don't think I've gotten but 1 or 2.
Oh my God, I get them.
I've had 2 in the last 2 weeks.
I don't know why they call it. I guess because my cell phone's available, all right?
That's not a challenge, then. Like.
Just report on Hannah.
It's YouTube. It's Adam and Keith.
Yeah, it's me and Keith.
Rhonda, she got the book in there. I don't know how many. I mean, I don't know how many I've had.
You know, I've had a few calls on dogs and cats, and my Charlie Culver out there had a cat issue hibernating in all of his cars at his junkyard, you know. And Larry was on board then, but Larry came out and solved that problem. They took them to the Humane Society. They did something to them to where they wouldn't reproduce, and it worked well. They spaded. I'm not really for sure, Judge. You can go out there tomorrow and watch it.
Well, I mean, it's just been, I mean, there is, I mean, but I think we've got a good handle on it. We've got to make some adjustments and changes, because I forget how many animals that comes through that site a year. I mean,
2,500.
How many was it?
2,500.
They go through the
2,500. And a lot of them you got to go out and pick up and drive and trap and go out in the middle of the night. And it's just a whole house. All right, but I'll be bringing it back to you. And anybody got any other new or old business or other business before the court? Motion to adjourn from Lear, MT second, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Thank everybody for coming.
I would like to recognize my beautiful wife for coming tonight and keeping me calm.